late on deadline day. I'm really surprised, to be honest. Wolves have signed two midfielders in the same transfer window that can carry the ball, Boubacar Traore and Matthias Nunes. And look, Boubacar Traore is a bit of a risk. I have no idea if Boubacar Traore is going to work out because I've never watched him in my life. But look, all I can do as a fan is look at his numbers and make some inferences and kind of hope Wolves have done their scouting. And when you do look at his numbers, there's enough there that given the price, it's a loan with an option to buy, right? It's worth a punt. And these are the sort of signings that Brighton do all the time. Not just Brighton, but Brighton, the first couple that come to mind. And I always look at them and go, why do we never do this? We never take punts on guys out of leagues like the Liga and out of the Bundesliga and take punts on these guys to 7-8 million, see if it works. And look, even if these numbers don't improve, because of course there's things that need to work out. He doesn't really offer anything going forward. His passing numbers aren't particularly great, albeit when you look at obviously Metz last season, second lowest possession in Liga. So having an 84% pass completion rate isn't really that bad. Like, it's league average for midfielders across Europe, but considering he's playing at Metz, who are, probably the worst side in Liga last season, or second worst, out of the top 5 leagues, Liga is probably the worst league. I think everyone would agree with that. So Metz are one of the worst sides in the top 5 leagues. So having a kind of middling pass completion rate is actually pretty good. Obviously, decent dribbler, 1.2, that's pretty good. 4 progressive carries. Look, I'm not saying Boubacar Traore will transition. We have no idea. But even if he's just what he is now, just like a decent ball carrier and someone that presses a lot and has decent tackle numbers, even if that's all he is and never develops and never kicks on, I still think he'll be a useful squad player for Wolves. And that's what always annoyed me about Leander Dendoncker. Like, I've got nothing against Leander Dendoncker, but he just doesn't offer anything. He's not progressive. He's not particularly creative passer. His defense numbers are bad. And at least with Traore, he's physically gifted. 28 pressures. Wolves are constant. Bruno Lage keep constantly going on in press conferences about how we want to be a better pressing side. We're a really good pressing side, even though we're fifth bottom for pressures in the Premier League so far this season. But we're a great pressing side apparently. But look, he's a really good presser on 4.5 tackles and interceptions in a good league for a pretty crap side. It's the right profile. It's what I want in a young midfielder. The deal we've got him on, I think Wolves deserve credit for. Obviously, we left it late, but I think we've done that. We've got it on our terms now. And when you look at Wolves' midfield, obviously it will be Moutinho, Nunes and Neves. And Traore's kind of going to have to back up for all of them. But the issue I had with Leander Dendoncker, in terms of playing this 4-3-3, he's not... Nunes is the water carrier, right? He's the guy that carries the ball up and down. Moutinho is your game controller and Neves is your defensive midfielder. And the issue I always had with Leander Dendoncker is he can't do the defensive stuff that Ruben Neves can. He can't carry the ball like Nunes can. He can't control the game like Moutinho can. Whereas, look, again, I'm not saying Boubacar Traore is guaranteed to carry these numbers over to the Premier League. He could flop. Let me just clarify that. But if he even is the player he was at Metz now, at least he can do what Nunes can do in terms of carrying the ball. And at least he can put up the defensive numbers Neves can. Although the fact that he's putting up a lot more tackles and interceptions suggests he's kind of a front foot DM, right? Whereas Ruben Neves is kind of the opposite. He's a bit more of a sit-off guy. But he's put up numbers that are kind of like a defensive midfielder. And he's put up dribble numbers that are kind of like a number 8. So at least for me, I can see him playing the Neves role. I can see him doing a Nunes role. I can't really see him doing what João Moutinho does because he's so young. But I think Wolves will play 4-2-3-1 as well, and that kind of alleviates this role, right? But with Dendoncker, I can't really see him playing any of these roles properly. Whereas with Boubacar Traore, even if he's semi-competent and adapts, I can see him playing a couple of those roles in Nunes and Neves. And look, Bruno's a guy that we brought in to coach young players. And we haven't really seen him do it yet, apart from maybe Max Kilman, although Max Kilman's not really young anymore. I don't think he really did a particularly great job with Fabio Silva or Nuri embedding them in. So I'm kind of interested to see how he develops Boubacar Traore, because we brought him in to kind of be a guy that kicks on young players, and he hasn't really proven that yet. I'm kind of interested to see how he does that. But look, buying young midfielders out of Liga, I think is always a good thing to do. Liga is very similar to the Premier League in terms of it's quite a physical league. It's quite fast paced. Obviously, the talent, the level's a bit lower. But buying a guy out of Liga with decent underlying numbers, I think he's worth it for the fee and filling out the squad. And look, when you think of midfielders that come out of Liga over the last few years, I think of Andre Frank Anguissa, Yves Bissouma, Yuri Tielemans, Simare, Chet Toure has just gone to Palace, obviously, and N'Golo Conte, Bakayoko. Like, I'm not saying they all work out, but they're all very similar profiles. And I think more of them work out than they don't. I think if we had Andre Frank Anguissa right now, it would be a lot better. I think if we had Bissouma, Tielemans, even Simare, Chet Toure, Kante, obviously Bakayoko didn't work out, but it's the right profile. I think he'll add something to the squad. Obviously, it's an Nuri type signing, right? So he's a young guy who will need time to develop. And I think primarily he's kind of been brought in to be more of a Nunes type, kind of maybe a second 8. But even look, best case scenario is Boubacar Traore becomes a lot better of a passer. He keeps developing his ball carrier, and his defense numbers stay the same. And maybe he gets a bit better in the air. Great. The kind of medium case scenario is he doesn't develop and he kind of becomes the same player he is now. And even then, I think he's an all right cover for Neves and Moutinho. Or sorry, Neves and Nunes. Let's say he gets worse. Let's say he drops off a bit and these numbers go down and he can't adapt to the Premier League. Then so what? Like, we're paying 8 million for him, whatever it is. Even if he's crap and we want to sell him in a year or two's time, he'll still be 23. And you'll probably be able to sell him to the Championship or back to Liga for half the price. And it's a bit of an L, but it's a punt worth taking. There's high upside, whereas there's very little downside for me. So yeah, look, not guaranteed to work out. Of course it isn't. There's no Nunes, Guedes level guarantee. Even Collins, who's been playing the league, there's no guarantee of this. And I'm not going to sit here and say it's incredible and it's some groundbreaking signing, but it's the right profile. I like the fact Wolves are using a different market. And I think even if he doesn't develop, he will be better, or at least has a better profile for what we're trying to do down in the end of Dendoncker. It's exciting. I like the fact, and also Wolves are averaging lowering the average age of the squad, which I don't think is a bad thing. So, look, Boubacar Traore isn't a guarantee, but Wolves are buying a guy with the right minerals and the right profile, and that's all I can ask. When Wolves signed Patrick Traore, I didn't get it. So, like, when he flopped, I could kind of blame the club. Whereas with Trincao, for example, Trincao didn't work out, but I understood the signing, I understood the profile, so I can't really slag the club off. If Traore doesn't work out and Bruno just can't coach him or whatever, then fair enough. I understand why the club have bought him. So yeah, that's just my thoughts. I think he'll be an all right squad player. Will he play loads? Probably not. But I think he covers two key positions in terms of the Nunes ball carrier and kind of being a kind of DM. I'm interested to see what Bruno's long-term plan with him is, though. But right profile, good age. I think we've got him on a good financial deal. There's just no real downside to this. Even if he's crap, who cares? We won't really lose much money anyway. And if he is pretty good, which I think he will be, Wolves probably have triple our money in 2 years' time. We can flip him anyway. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on Boubacar Traore. And overall, it's been a pretty good window. Obviously, the centre-back situation's been a bit of an L. But, I think Totti Gomez and Jesse Mosquera can carry us through to the World Cup. I think the World Cup's kind of helped us out. We've only got, 12 or 13 games between now and the World Cup. The odds of Collins and Kilman getting injured in that time are pretty low. I know we don't really have Dendoncker as an option there anymore, which people have pointed out, but can you really see Dendoncker playing centre-back in a back two? I can't. So yeah, overall it's been a good window, and Boubacar Traore is a nice little cherry on top. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and yeah, peace.